Students, families, counselors, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining the Ohio ACAC Virtual College Exploration Program. A few housekeeping items before we hand it over to our panelists. First and foremost, you're encouraged to ask questions throughout this session via the Q&A button that you see on your screen. When you submit a question, it gets sent to our panelists, and they'll work to answer the question during the session and at the conclusion of the session. A reminder, your camera and your microphone are turned off. The panelists cannot see or hear you, so any questions you have, type them in through that Q&A. This is one of many sessions that are being run through Thursday evening through the Ohio ACAC program. And then these all start back up in the next few weeks with individual information sessions as well. So we encourage you to check out the website to sign up for more sessions. And recordings of all the sessions can also be found at oacac.org. Thanks so much. And I'm going to hand it over to Alana from the University of East Anglia.
Thank you so much, Zach. We appreciate it. My name is Alana. I'm a representative from the University of East Anglia. I'm the regional manager here. I'm actually based just north of you in Michigan. So literally right there for you if you do need anything. But I'm the regional manager. I do assist students, both undergraduate and postgraduate within the USA and Canada. I'm going to turn my camera off for the first part of this, and then I'll jump back on for Q&A. I don't think you need to see me for this. The more important stuff is about the university. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and start talking about the University of East Anglia. So the University of East Anglia was founded in 1963, which makes us a relatively young institution, but I think you'll see that we have been ranked pretty well even since those kind of first 50 years or so of our existence as a university. We are public, we are also a campus university, and we are research intensive. We're actually part of the Norwich Research Park, which has one of the largest research outputs in the UK, outside of Oxbridge and outside of London. So even though you may not heard of us before, a lot of our researchers are very heavily cited. They do a lot of groundbreaking work within their fields respectively. The university itself has some research pillars that are kind of interdisciplinary, where the university tries to answer these larger questions. You can find some great videos about the research on YouTube. Some of those kind of key areas that we have are words, guts, water, and there's a few other out there that are definitely worth checking out if you want to see what kind of research we're involved in. We do offer a wide variety of subjects under 4 faculties and 23 schools. I will be showing a slide later on with a lot of the programs and the schools that we have to offer, but there's 160 undergraduate or bachelor degree courses for students to choose from. So again, no matter what you're pretty much interested in, we do have something that you can probably find to suit your needs. The campus itself is on the small side of what might be breaching the larger category of universities, with about 17,000 students. And of that student population, about 20% are international from over 100 different countries. These are those rankings that I was speaking about previously, and the reason why I mention these is just to, again, establish us as an institution that is worth your time investigating. Students a lot of the time haven't heard of University of East Anglia, nor counselors or families, so it's always good to establish this, again, just as a reputable place for you to be seeking your education. We're ranked in the UK top 25 as shown by some of those top row rankings. We also are ranked within the world top 200. So overall across the world, again, we are recognized as being a top institution. And then finally, that TEF Gold that you see, that will be the last one I mentioned, but that's the Teaching Excellence Framework. Basically, they go in and they rate the teaching every so often. This isn't done every single year, so that's why you see 2017 there. But gold is the highest ranking that you can achieve. So we hope that we are reviewed within the next couple years, that we still continue to have that gold teaching standard. Again, since you may not have heard of University of East Anglia, and if that is the case, I do applaud you for coming to this session to learn about something unknown to you. But the things that we are well known for are the first creative writing course in the UK. So if a student is looking to study creative writing, they should be investigating UEA as an option. The other thing that we are well known for is cutting edge environmental science research. And this is especially in the field of climate change. We are kind of at the forefront of the beginning of that research that was happening kind of at the beginning of that wave, I think 20, 30 years ago now, and we continue to have that research kind of as one of the forefront for our environmental science researchers. So you're interested at all in that, current very much hot topic, we would be an excellent place to pursue that. Not too shockingly and not too differently from universities in the UK or other universities in the US, our most popular or the largest majors we have on campus are health sciences, biological sciences, business, and then that last category kind of covers a lot, but politics, philosophy, language, and communication studies. So that can be things like international relations, PPE, which is philosophy, politics and economics, also the languages that we have to offer, and then anything with communication, so like intercultural communication. We do tend to offer generous scholarships. I will have a slide speaking to this later. Unfortunately, they haven't been determined for the class of 2021, but I will show you what we will have or have had in the past for other students. But comparatively to other institutions, especially for undergrad students seeking a bachelor's degree, we do have very, very generous scholarships. And then finally, we have brand new facilities that are opening up. That first slide that I showed you, if you looked at that building, that was our new science facility called Neal Hall. That was dedicated this past fall by Dr. Jane Goodall. So she was on our campus doing that dedication, which is really cool. We also have the Institute of Productivity, which is a multi-million-dollar facility, basically equipped with state-of-the-art equipment for the community, but also students to utilize. Our engineering degrees at UEA were very much pushed by our community, saying that there was a need for them. So we answered that call. And so this will allow for further community and student integration and collaboration. We also have another facility for arts and humanities that should have been started this summer. The construction on that, I'm unsure if COVID actually delayed anything, because unfortunately I haven't been back to campus to see any progress, but that should be opening in 2022. And that's a retrofitted facility on our existing campus, but that would be the home of our arts and humanities, and then also some of our social science programs. And it's always nice to see a university that's investing in its infrastructure and does have the capability to make those investments in its structure. The notable alums come from some of our more popular programs like creative writing. So you might know Kazuo Ishiguro, who is a Nobel laureate. And then you also may have heard of Ian McEwan. I think he's one of the more famous novelists or authors that we have, because his works have been turned into movies, which I always think helps with popularity. But if you've seen Atonement or On Chesil Beach, or obviously have read those novels or done both, then he is an alumni of ours. And also Anne Enright, who is another relatively well-known author. Our drama program, so our theater program, tends to turn out some notable alums also, and that includes actors that have been in Downton Abbey, Lord of the Rings, and we also have a doctor from the Doctor Who series, Matt Smith. The movie star on the right is more well known in China, but you might also know her as well. She is a Chinese actress, has been in The King's Avatar. So these are just the ones that you might be more well aware of. This isn't to say that we don't have more notable alum that are doing research in their fields that are well known in those fields, but it would be more likely that you would know these alums as opposed to the names of some of those other ones, who are still doing great things around the world, but are just not in front of the public eye as much. In terms of our location, we are located in Norwich, England. So where you see that pink star, we call that a glint. That's the location kind of on that east side of England on the lump there within the UK. So we're about an hour and a half northeast of London by train. So very easily accessible to London if you do want to spend some time there, spend a day there even, it's very accessible. But we're also 30 minutes from the coast. So you can take the train to the coast and see the beaches. They have these lovely colored little beach houses or beach shacks there that families have owned over the generations of their family. They make very nice photos. I can attest to that. And also you can get great fish and chips there and just, go there and enjoy a relaxing time on the beach. We're also surrounded by beautiful countryside. So that area more or less is a very heavy agricultural area. So while Norwich is a relatively large city for that area of about 130,000 people, it does kind of serve as that main hub. So that means that you have pretty much everything you would need as a student, but can also escape again to either in a larger city or to the beach or also to the countryside to just have a relaxing weekend. There is an international airport as well in Norwich. It is worth noting that. It usually flies direct to Amsterdam. So students would go over to Amsterdam. I know there's the Detroit to Amsterdam flight. And then you would actually fly backwards and gain some time because that flight is about 50-ish minutes. So because there's a time difference, you end up kind of arriving before you get there, or arriving before you've taken off, which is always kind of a funny thing to be dealing with. Over these next slides, we'll be talking about the location itself because we do consider Norwich one of our best selling points because it is kind of a quintessentially British city. It's very friendly and very welcoming to our students. The university itself has, about 17,000 students. So when you think about that coming into a city of about 130,000, it makes a big difference. And again, there's that community and university collaboration. So there's 1,500 ancient buildings. We are a historic city. There's Roman wall ruins. The designation as a city actually comes from being one of the larger locations at the very beginning, the very foundings of England and the area that is known as East Anglia, which is where we get our name from. We have over 30 medieval churches as well. So you can think about wandering down the cobblestone streets that are lined with different cafes and shops. And we also have an open air market. Unfortunately, there's not a photo of that, but they have a bunch of different stalls, either food vendors or selling different wares, sometimes produce, sometimes meat, flowers, pretty much anything you can imagine. And there's the 12th century architecture. We have the castle that's featured in that photo. It is not like Cinderella's castle, unfortunately. It is more of a square fortress, but at the same time, it's a castle nonetheless, and you can go there. It is a museum now. But this is also juxtaposed with a very modern city center. So in this next photo, you'll actually see the old with the new. So you'll see a very old church combined with a very modern mall. Within the city center, this is your shopping destination, and there's going to be about 3 or 4 malls within about 5 minutes walking. I can tell you I've spent very many weekends shopping in this area, and I always try to make sure that I have at least one Saturday or Sunday that I can spend shopping and enjoying the cafes there. So there's Norwich, again, is kind of the largest city in that area, so it serves as a shopping destination. So it is a top 10 shopping destination in the UK. It consistently ranks within one of the safest cities and has been named one of the top places to live as well more recently. And then we also have a designation as being a very vegan friendly city. So you wouldn't think for a city again of this size that you might be able to have some of those experiences, but I've had a student that was coming from London who came to UEA who told me she wasn't missing anything, and I think that speaks a lot to come from a large city like London to then be able to adapt to a smaller city like Norwich. And also that means it's going to be more affordable. So the city itself tends to be very affordable and have a low cost of living, but a high quality life. People are really willing to engage with you in conversation. I've always found that that's the case when I'm, grabbing a bite to eat or, checking out in the stores. People will usually notice that I'm not from the UK and engage in a conversation with me. And we know other reps from the UK too who have traveled within the country itself. They constantly say that if they have been to Norwich, that they say the people are very friendly there. So again, it's very much a selling point and one of the key points that we say about the university that makes it worth it. So our campus is about 3 miles from that proper city center, those pictures that I was showing you. So about a 20 to 25 minute bus ride. We're located on 320 acres of rolling parkland. It was actually a former golf course, so you can kind of see that potentially reflected in our setting. We do have on that far upper left-hand corner, we do have the Broad on campus. It's, pretty much a lake. It is a man-made lake, but students take advantage of that green space space there. Also, community members will walk their dogs. Students can also participate in community dog walking. There's a video on YouTube for that, and a really cute puppy that's actually the freeze frame for that. So a lot of different opportunities to engage. Our unofficial mascot is the rabbit because there are so many bunnies that are around campus. So we do have the UEA bunny. And then I also recently read that we are a hedgehog friendly campus. So I guess hedgehogs are relatively endangered in the UK. So we are friendly to them. And I thought that was just a cute little fun fact to be sharing with students because I thought it was very endearing. So a couple of things to point out here. Number one is the student union. So kind of that music note icon all the way on the far left of the screen. If you're looking at that, that's where we have pubs on campus. We also have a live music venue. We get 60 or more live music gigs per year. And that's in a good year. Obviously, with COVID, we're having to adapt things. They have had, with COVID in mind, have had outdoor art installations that lit up. And that was really cool. There are some pictures on Facebook of that. And they're also having kind of outdoor theater spaces for students so that they can socialize, but in a responsible way, and making sure they're distancing and wearing masks at the same time too. So campus is a little bit transformed, but that student union obviously still exists with those pubs and the venues. So hopefully by the time you get there in 2021 or beyond, we will be able to open this back up to all those music gigs so you can explore all the UK music scene and everything it has to offer. Our library is always open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you need a quiet space, you're more than able to go there and study. We also have the Sainsbury Centre for Visual Arts. Unfortunately, that orange dot that's in that top left corner is pretty unfortunately placed because it does cover up the facade, but there's actually the next slide that I'll talk about that a little. It is a museum, but it also doubles in a big Hollywood feature film. Again, I'll show that to you in a second. But then all those places within those magenta dots that you see, those are our accommodations. So we are a campus university. We do have accommodations to offer our students. So there is another slide where I'll kind of showcase some of those and what student life is like. Then the last thing to mention here, you can see a lot of fields and pitches and courts here for sports. We do have the largest indoor sports park in Great Britain. So it's worth noting that if you'd like to stay active and fit, you would have to pay as a student, but there still is that option. And again, within the sports park, you get that opportunity to interact with the community and also fellow students within that. So I would say that that facility actually rivals anything you might see here in the US with a rock climbing wall and Olympic-sized swimming pool. And there'll be some photos of that popping up in a little bit too. So heading on again, here's the Sainsbury Centre for Visual Arts. This is the facade that I was mentioning that was covered up by that orange dot. But the reason we mention this is because it's featured in the Avengers films. So this is how you might recognize it. So even though, again, you might not have heard of UEA outright, you've actually seen it most likely in those most recent films. So like Spiderman Homecoming, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, that is the Avengers headquarters. And the reason we're featured in that is because one of the co-directors studied script writing at UEA. So kind of a cool connection there. They were on campus at some point. I think it's all CGI'd in now. So unfortunately they don't come back. But again, that's our fun little Hollywood fact for students. Another fun thing is that in 2017, we did have the Queen come to visit campus. On this occasion, she was checking out a Fijian art exhibit. So that's why we have somebody who is kind of dressed in Pacific Islander wear. It looks like she was quite shocked to see kind of a half-naked man when she got out of her car. So I kind of like that this moment was captured. It's also kind of funny because she is kind of dressed in UEA colors. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but we do get royal visitors occasionally coming to campus. So if you're one of those people who likes the royals or finds them fascinating, you might get a chance to run in with one of them while you are studying on our campus. Just to highlight again some of those factors on campus and the facilities, I did already talk about some of these. So like the 24-hour library, the Olympic-sized swimming pool. I didn't mention quite yet, although you saw the fields and the pitches there and the courts, that we do have 80 sports clubs you can participate in, and there are scholarships available, for athletes to come and play with us. Now it's not like NCAA. It is usually not a direct line to professional sports, but if you are kind of maybe looking at D3, maybe even D2, depending, it might be a good option for you to investigate. And yes, we do offer American football. As you can see there, I have no guarantees as to how good the team is, but we do actually have it on offer, so you can participate in it. The Career Central down at the bottom left-hand corner, we have a wide variety of career events every single year, and some of these are specifically designed for international students. So with these, you can go and there will be employers there who will be able to support you and be able to sponsor a visa. The jobs are going to be competitive for that, but it's nice that they have these an international week and these career fairs set up that are friendly to our international students. It's worth mentioning here too that the UK is going to be offering a post-study work visa starting next year in 2021 for those who graduate starting in that year, and hopefully continuing on throughout the years. But that would allow students to stay after their studies for 2 years to find work. It does not guarantee a job, but it does allow you to potentially look to find a job or an internship, and what you would be legally allowed to stay there. Once those 2 years are up, you'd either have to get married if you find somebody you fall in love with, or you would have to find a job that would then sponsor you on that visa because you would no longer have a visa sponsor. We also do have campus restaurants, and this can range from everything from like our coffee shop, Ziggy's. We have a grocery store on campus where you can grab a sandwich. You also have your typical cafeteria type eatery. So we don't make students buy into a meal plan. So a lot of students do tend to buy things from the grocery store and cook for themselves in their residence halls, AKA a dorm. But there is also the option to eat out. It's just that we don't force you to eat at the campus restaurants. You could obviously also go out to a lot of the restaurants, pubs, or cafes that are in the direct area, or go to the city center as well. And then you'll see some of our modern teaching facilities there. To be quite honest, I mean, pretty much every university has lecture theater that look like that. Our classes tend not to be too large, and that's the nice thing because of the way the UK programs are structured, being 3 focused years. I think the maximum size class we tend to have is about 80. Again, keeping in mind with COVID for this year, that is obviously going to be a bit smaller, trying to make those spaces socially distant. And so you're not going to have the large lectures, but the smaller seminars that would be in person this year, because we have a hybrid model of both online and in-person teaching, if you're curious to know about our response to COVID. So going through clubs and societies, so I mentioned the sports clubs that we have, but we do also have other student societies, or what we would call student organizations here in the US, those extracurricular activities. So if you like to be involved in things outside of your academics, now these can be religious groups. We have ones linked to your identity. We have ones that are just for fun. You can go out. I've seen actually a LARPing, so that live action role playing taking place in the woods outside of just outside of campus. So I think there's a little bit of something for everybody on our campus. So a wide variety of things to participate in to meet students with similar interests outside of your academics. I also mentioned the 60 or more gigs per year. Again, this happens in a normal year, not with COVID. So hopefully we'll be able to get back to this, but campus has featured a lot of UK bands and a lot of UK singers, performers that you may not have heard of, but we also tend to get very large names. There's the music venue on campus and also one in the city that you can go see bands at. So Coldplay, Katy Perry, Snoop Dogg, also Ed Sheeran in the past. Those are some of the bigger names that are coming to mind, have been on campus or within the city of Norwich performing. So if you're big into music, we're actually an excellent destination. Again, even if you might think that a smaller place like Norwich would have that to offer, we do. In terms of student support, there's a lot that we can do, which would be very similar to what you would get here in the United States. So we have the mental health support and student support teams. We do have one that are, two of them actually, that are dedicated to international student support, and that's Susan and Jessica. I work with them quite a bit, as you can imagine, but they can offer visa support. We also do have a U.S. financial aid team. I'll talk about that in a second, but you are eligible for FAFSA loans even in the UK. We do also have a wellness team that would kind of be your disability support. So whether that is a learning difference and you need some adaptions on exams or note-taking help or whatever the case is, we can help to make those adaptions, or whether your limitations are physical, we can also work with that as well. The laws in the UK might even be even more extensive than what they are in the US in terms of how we need to take care of our students in that sense. So rest assured, no matter what your situation is, we would be able to help you out with that. We do also have support for studying because coming to the UK, the system is going to be a little bit different than you are used to in the United States. So that adjustment you might need help with. So we are here to help. And then again, in a typical year, you would have an orientation week. You get there about a week before classes start, and you would have orientation and different events to kind of take you through some of those international aspects, like setting up a bank account or getting a cell phone in the UK, also picking up your official visa and anything else that you might have to do to keep you legally allowed to stay in the UK. That has kind of gone on online this year because students did have to quarantine for 2 weeks, but hopefully again it will be back in 2021 and back as they had or were trying to adjust it for this year. They just actually weren't able to implement it due to COVID. So our accommodation on campus, we do have, again, housing options for students. These are some of the buildings you'll see there. Kind of look like your typical accommodations or your dormitories, your residence halls in the United States. The biggest difference that we have is that most of your spaces are going to be single. So you are going to have your own bedroom space to yourself. Now, this is probably going to sound great to some of you. We do also have shared spaces, so 2 of you per room, but that's only 5% of our campus offerings. So it's kind of the flip of what you might have here in the United States, but it's nice because it does give you your own space to go back to retreat to, especially if you're an introvert. You don't have to deal with having anybody else there. You would share a bathroom space or a kitchen space in some instances, although some do have their own bathroom space attached. Those are going to be more expensive options. But that kitchen space is kind of going to be where you connect. I've seen students get there together before a large campus club event or a concert or, whatever the case is. If they're going out on Friday night, they kind of get there, hang out together before they head out. And it's also a place where you can cook for yourself, which makes it more affordable than having to dial into a meal plan. So again, there's kitchen facilities. They are fully furnished. Everything you need is covered. There's internet that's included, and then you are guaranteed for your first year. Now with this, it's not a requirement for the first year, but we do recommend you do stay on campus for the first year, and then you can move off campus for your second and third year if you would like. And as mentioned, there are price ranges for every budget. You can see there that middle bottom is actually, those are the ziggurats. Those are kind of our iconic buildings we have on campus. Those are accommodations and they look out onto the lake, so they are quite lovely. Those tend to be, I think, more the most affordable options, I think, other than having a shared space. But it's nice that depending on what your budget is, what your budget is and what your family can contribute and what you can contribute, that there are options, again, for every single price range within that. These are the different programs we have on campus, the different schools. So these are broad categories. We do have, again, over 160 undergraduate courses on offer. So this would just give you a very good idea of what we would have for students. Again, the biggest programs or the most common ones, or the ones we're most known for, are environmental science and creative writing. But we do get ranked well with a lot of the other ones, including business, also including including international development. And I think there is, I know some of the medicine and health programs too, like pharmacy tends to get, sorry, the science. So pharmacy tends to get rated well, and physiotherapy as well as our medicine program. Now, it's kind of worth noting here, our programs are 3 years long standard. So they are shorter than they are in the US, and that's going to save you some time and potentially can even save you some money. I'll go over the tuition fees in a second. But on most of these programs, you're going to have the option to add an extra year. So that would be a 4th year, and that would be typically your 3rd year of study. So you would do 2 years at UEA, then you would do what's kind of called or referred to in general as a sandwich year, and then you would do your final year at UEA. So that 3rd year, if you decide to do one, would be a year abroad, a placement year, or a year in industry. Now, the year in industry and placement years is kind of like a year of practice for you. It is a year of job experience that you can write on your resumes, and these can even be paid positions. So if you can imagine for this entire year, you're earning money to be able to pay for your degree or to start savings, depending. And then that year abroad, you'd be able to study abroad in a different destination. You could technically even come back to the United States to do that program and do more of a study away. So I think that's kind of, a funny concept to be thinking of, but it's definitely a possibility. So again, you can opt to do one of those programs with the additional year, or you can do the standard 3-year program. If you're even considering doing one of the extended programs, it's best to apply for that and then change your mind out of it, as opposed to the flip. So it's best to apply for one of those programs. They tend to have higher requirements than your standard program would do. The other thing that I want to note here is any program with a certification or licensure. So like medicine, like nursing, even education, also physiotherapy, those are going to not directly transfer back to the United States. So while they are going to be shorter and may save you some time or money, so for example, medicine is directly after high school and it's done in 5 years, you're not going to be able to just come back and practice and become a doctor in the US. So it's worth investigating for some of those licensure and certification programs if that's what you're interested in. If you're interested in something general like math or philosophy or history, the vast majority of our programs, business to economics, those aren't going to require anything special to come back to the United States because those are non-certification and licensure, and the degrees should be recognized by the United States. We only have a few universities around here that might not take the 3-year degree as a 4-year, but worst case scenario, you could stay in the UK and do a 1-year master's degree program. And if you do have any questions about transferring those back, please do let me know. Now on to the application process. If you like what I've said and you see your program on our listing, you would apply through the UCAS application. This is something that could have its own entire session, to be honest, but you are allowed to choose 5 programs in the UK to apply, and then you would send in that application to all of those programs and all of those universities. So the essay you write needs to be program general and not university specific on that. If you do need any guidance, I am more than happy to help you out with that if you get to that point. Our typical requirements are the general requirements. Unfortunately, they are to be determined for fall of 2021 at this point. But for right now, there are 3.3 GPA or higher, and specific programs may have a higher requirement than that. So it's worth checking into it. And again, please contact me if you need any more details. And we also do need 3 AP or IB exams. Now on the AP, we're usually looking for a score of 4. On the IB, we're looking for a score of 5. This is to try to replicate the type of curriculum that they are receiving in the UK at secondary school or high school level. So it's not just us being restrictive, it is us trying to make sure that you are well prepared to get a degree in the UK. We also look for demonstrated academic interest, so a background in the area that you're going into, and that's going to be reflected within your academics, but also reflected in the essay that you're going to write. Some courses do require interviews. The vast majority of these can be done in in the virtual realm, so on Skype. The only course that we have that requires an in-person interview would be medicine, and this year they might even be doing Skype interviews because of the current pandemic. And then furthermore, auditions or portfolios are required for some courses. Because we don't have any art courses, we don't really need the portfolios, but the auditions are more for things like drama. So you would need to have an audition for that program for us. Our scholarships, again, I mentioned we don't have them determined for 2021 yet, but this gives you an idea of what was offered before. So we had an automatic scholarship for anyone who was given an offer. So essentially, if you said, if we put conditions on your offer, if you were unconditional, you would automatically get these awards. That represents about 25% of our tuition fees. And then you could also apply for £10,000 per year by writing an additional 1 or 2 essays. Again, these were very short essays, very easy to apply for. And also there may be some scholarships by the course. We do have a brand new scholarship finder on our website, so it makes it really easy to see what you can get. We do also take FAFSA loans if you and your family are eligible for them. We can only take the loan portion. We do not have any capabilities to offer scholarships and grants, but it is nice to know that you can get those loans because they tend to have better payback schedules and also better interest rates. And then finally, students can work part-time on their Tier 4 student visa. So 20 hours while you are in courses and then 40 hours if you're on any holiday break. So that can work to be a buffer for some of the costs and also maybe living costs, or that can end up being just your fun money for when you want to go out to the pub. The most updated costs are listed here. I didn't mention earlier, but if you were to do a year abroad, a year in industry, or a placement year, those are usually at a third or a fourth of the cost of a typical year. So don't expect to be paying the full 4 years of tuition if you do opt for one of those programs. It is going to be more affordable. But currently, right now, our courses range from about $22,000 to $43,000. Now, please note that the $43,000 is only the cost of medicine. So that's obviously a very expensive program and not listed here, but I can tell you that the cost of living we estimate from the UK Visa and Immigration Services, they give us a number for the monthly rate, which is about $1,200 per month, but overall it's about $1,300 for the $13,000 rather, I'm sorry, for the 9 months that you would be on campus. So totally you're looking at $35,000 plus per year to get onto campus, which if you're looking at some out-of-state institutions, that can look very comparable. Couple last things, UEA's fight against coronavirus has been very active. We've printed 3D ventilator parts. We worked with ADNAMS, which is a distillery in the area, to produce hand sanitizer. They also worked on getting a portable coronavirus test that would actually have a result within 50 minutes from the initial testing. Not only that, but they're also working on kind of coronavirus task force and looking at the mental health of individuals, because we know coronavirus doesn't just take a physical toll on those who have it, but also a mental toll on all of those who are affected, by lockdowns, shutdowns, and isolation due to COVID-19. The best way to find out about us is to connect on our social media channels. You might get the chance to visit. We definitely hope you do. You can let me know if you plan to come onto campus and we can set up a bespoke visit for you. So a visit basically cater to all of your needs. But we do have a UEA America. So that's all of our North American, or our US students, where our student ambassador, Nicole, she's mentioned on the first slide, she runs that. We also do have a UEA International Instagram. So that's just made for our international students. But I do recommend you check out our official videos on YouTube, and also then see what other students are hashtagging us in. So see what people are unofficially saying about the university, because obviously we're going to be painting a pretty rosy picture for you about the university, but it's nice to see what others are saying. Now, with that being said, I do have some contacts here, and we'll go into Q&A if there is anything. My contact information is down here. To be honest, emailing me is the best, but you can always use that phone number there. Again, I'm located in the US, so it's an easy dial for you. You can also WhatsApp me, text me, Skype me, whatever is most comfortable for you. I'm more than happy to connect with you that way. You can also set up a meeting with us individually. And then if you do want to talk talk to somebody about their undergraduate experience. I unfortunately didn't go to UEA and don't have that experience as a student, but you can connect with Nicole, who is our student ambassador. She's from California, and I believe she's in her last year of studies this year, but she would be a great person to talk to. She's in our international development program, and she'd be able to help you out with everything she's been experiencing as a student, excuse me, even in her last year too, going through COVID. So with that, I'm going to actually turn my camera back on. I think we have about 5 minutes for Q&A, although I'm not seeing anything that has popped up. So if you do have anything, again, please feel free to ask any questions so that I can answer them. Or, you know, if you're more comfortable, just, you know, if you think of something after the session, it's totally okay to send me an email also, or utilize those phone digits there. I'll also check. I don't think there's anything in the chat. All right, so with that said, I think we're going to end today since there are no questions. So thank you so much for attending today, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks so much, Alana, for sharing this information. Students and counselors, thank you for tuning in. As you close this box, a very quick 4-question survey will appear. We ask for your feedback. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.